Right, replacement tyre for the Kitty bandsaw. Having taken the tyre off carefully, the original tyre off carefully, I noted that it was not a continuous band. It was actually a strip of rubber that had been glued onto the tyre, onto the wheel. So I'm going to attempt to put the tyre back on in the same way as the original. And this has all got to be done very carefully, especially when you're using super glue. I noticed it appeared to be something like super glue that had been used originally, although I think when it was made probably super glue wasn't even in existence. So what I'm doing, using a super glue, this is actually one that is normally used as an activator, but I find it goes off quite quickly, especially in contact with butyl rubber, which is what I'm using. And I'm applying the super glue under the rubber and squeezing it out across the band so that it's a continuous glue. You do it like that, I can see there's a bead, and you won't be able to see it on the camera I don't think, but you can imagine it squeezing it out around the wheel. I'm not particularly stretching this band, I'm just gradually working it round. Being very careful not to get it on myself or on the top of the tyre, because it does actually form a permanent bond with the rubber. I would say it vulcanizes it actually. You've got to put quite a bit on, and the trouble is, as you're doing it, as you can see, it drips out the side of the wheel. So I'm just going to peel back, let it drip underneath there, and squeeze down and apply the glue as it comes around the wheel. It's not quite a good one that time, it's going to come around a bit further. I mean, it's within seconds. This is, I don't want to get it over there because that's going to get onto the glue that's on the wheel. So right, this is only the second one I've done of these, so if you can think of a better way of doing it, I'm sure everyone would be find it very interesting. The idea came from watching various videos on YouTube and also reading some of the write-ups on the blogs. Somebody suggested that they used to do it with super glue, and having seen how it was actually put on in the first place, or apparently put on, because I'd carefully taken the old one off, I could see that it was never a continuous band, but it was definitely a strip that had been put on. So if anybody used to work for the German company who made these things, it would be interesting to know if they could give us some more information. But as you can see, being very careful not to get it on my fingers, at the same time putting enough on there to make sure that we're covering the whole surface of the wheel. Also trying to be careful not to, I suppose another pair of hands would do the job better. The trouble is, if you don't get the whole rubber stuck onto the wheel, when the pressure is put on it by the blade, it will tend to squeeze the rubber one way and the other where it's not actually attached, and then eventually it becomes lumpy. The kity bandsaw actually has got, as you probably can see, a flat wheel, which also makes things a little bit more tricky. And you have to be a bit more precise in setting up the thing, because your blade should be overhanging the edge of the wheel, of the tyre. And I understand the purpose of that is to stop it damaging the blade. It allows the blade, the teeth, to go around freely without touching, and therefore not being bent or the set being taken off. That is not necessary, of course, if you've got a curved wheel, a wheel with a crown on it, because naturally the teeth will be not be touching the band so much. I can't imagine, they must be touching it a bit, depending on the pressure you put on and what blade you've got on, I would imagine. But the general idea is to keep them from touching the rubber. Anyway, so we're doing quite well. I've only got 9 minutes on my camera here, so I was wondering whether I could get round in that time. So the original band on here, I noticed the ends, because it was a strip, the ends had been sort of chamfered together, and when I took it off I could see the chamfer, so I was just able to peel it off. However, I'm not quite sure I would get a chamfer on this one. Well, you'd have to cut it very accurately to get it. The way I'm going to do it is just lay it up on top of there like that. Now I've got to make sure that glue doesn't dry too lumpy just there. I'm just going to wipe it out, the excess out before it goes off, and I'll put that on there like that. And now I've got to cut down through those two so we get a nice accurate job.